Greetings, everyone. I'm here recording Brother John Corrigan from the Strict Observance of the Cistercians from Mepkin Abbey. And he's not the author, but he's the subject of this amazing book called Brother John that was a Templeton Prize-winning book. And we had two sisters in the background as we record. They're coming in to visit Brother John. Brother John will tell us a little bit, not just about the book, but more about his 63 years as a monk. So, Brother John, 63 years. Tell us how you found the order 63 years ago.
Well, born in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, and trained by the Dominicans in Midtown Manhattan. St. Vincent Ferrer was the parish, and educated by the Dominican nuns at St. Vincent Ferrer's grammar school, and was baptized with the Dominicans and confirmed and Holy Communion, and so I had quite an experience there. Lived basically 2.5 blocks away from the church, and it was parochial education with the Dominicans, completely involved with Dominican nuns, and so my upbringing was with all of that, and then got to know the Dominicans, and Dominicans were very close with the Trappists in the sense that Dominican vocation is somewhat in line, at least in certain principles, with the Trappist contemplation, contemplative contemplation, and so they always had a real desire, or if you wish, a longing for some elements of the contemplation that the Trappists were stressing, and it was Bishop Fulton J. Sheen's time, and of course Bishop Fulton J. Sheen was involved with Clare Road Loose, and Clare Road Loose was the ones who gave the property to the Trappists in 1949. And the Dominicans had a mission in South Carolina at Springbank, which they still have, a Dominican outreach mission there at Springbank, South Carolina, quite close to Mepkin. And they would come and spend a day, a year, when they were down here. They'd spend a month at Springbank, some of the students from the different places around New York City, and would spend a day at Mepkin while they were at Springbank, and they would come back to the parish and talk about it. So I heard about it that way.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't realize Bishop Sheen was also with Clare Booth Luce.
Yeah, there's a real
quite
connection
interesting,
there.
Yeah.
And I met Bishop Sheen at our parish. He would come there, and so it was kind of a small world, small Catholic ghetto world. And
in a big city like New York.
Big city like New York City, Midtown Manhattan.
Oh.
67th Street is where I was living. 65th was the church, and they had a church, a rectory, a convent for the nuns, a school which was a grammar school, and a high school for girls. And then they had a Holy Name building also, which was there with part of the Dominican complex, which was the provincial house for the entire eastern part of the United States. So the provincial lived there, and traveling Dominicans would stay at the Holy Name building, which was a complex of the St. Vincent Ferrer's property there. So I had all that experience, and then I had the occasion of visiting many contemplative Dominican nuns' convents on a special type of trip that was organized and throughout New York State, and visited many of the contemplative nuns' convents. And this was a special tour that was being organized to try to raise money for a place in Toulouse, France, which is very close, where St. Dominic started part of the order with regard to Dominican nuns, etc. And so I was able to have a first-hand experience of the contemplative life from visiting contemplative nun convents of Dominicans. And then of course I would go and visit the cloisters in upstate, or in the outskirts of Manhattan there. And the part of the cloisters, the up part of the tower of the cloisters, was used by the Trappists for special meetings when they would be in the city. Abbots and whatnot would go up to the tower of the cloisters and hold special meetings up there in the cloisters. So it was kind of a very small world. So
Yeah, that's
that kind of experience. And then I was trained by what was known as the Irish Christian Brothers. And they have changed their name since, but that was Rice High School in Manhattan, Harlem, New York.
Okay.
And from there I came to Mepkin.
Wow, so a big difference being in the South,
Yes,
especially
it was.
63 years ago, right? Yeah.
63 years ago, so it was quite a difference.
So how long was Mepkin already established?
9 years. I was here
Oh.
9 years when I came.
Oh, wow, okay, goodness. And so you're raising chickens then, or that came later?
Well, they
and
always
then,
had
then the
chickens.
mushrooms.
They always had chickens
Oh,
here.
okay.
They were kind of exploring what to do. They had some chickens here. They had a huge floral nursery here, and raised azaleas and camellias, which really originated from the love that Clara Boudlousse had for plants, and especially azaleas and camellias. And so there was always formal gardens which she had built here, and she had a greenhouse herself here. And so, and it was known as Mepkin Nursery at that time, even
Wow,
before the monks ever came here.
wow.
So, but the monks engaged in growing camellias and azaleas for roughly 20 years.
That's why the gardens are so beautiful there, yeah.
And of course, Mrs. Luce, Claire Luce, developed those gardens and had them started, and that's why they are in the condition that they are today. They have been revitalized and worked partly by the Luce family since then also. And then down the road, Henry R. Luce would be buried at Mepkin, is buried now, and Claire is buried there in the gardens. But it has a long history with the Luce family.
Well, we're blessed to have y'all in South Carolina for sure, because, and I visited, I think it's what would you consider it, Kentucky. The monastery there is, Gethsemane is where y'all,
Thomas Merton.
okay. And then did the monks come from Gethsemane to begin Mepkin?
Mepkin came from Gethsemane.
Okay,
In
yeah.
1949.
So it's a wonderful place. I think that's why the book, Brother John, has touched so many lives, because people are looking for peace, and more in today's world. They look for it on, well, we're doing social media right now, so sometimes we can use social media to tell people where they can stop using social media and just enjoy beauty and prayer and the life that y'all lead, especially. Our order is a more active order, but at the same time, contemplation is very important to us. So we enjoy going out to Mepkin. And as I read Auguste Turick's book, Brother John, I think what impressed me the most was the simple gestures that you showed, which are something that grows out of our religious life and our devotion to contemplation, to that the things that we're trying to be for others comes from letting go of some of the things we want sometimes for ourselves. Like he said, you gave up some wonderful party to take an umbrella and walk him across the field. And I thought, that seems like a simple gesture. But what would you say, as a monk especially, that how many years would it take you to realize that I can let go of these things that may bring me temporary fulfillment or that little bit of happiness, but I found a greater happiness in surrendering to what people in our world today are looking for? What would that be?
Well, I think the development of awareness and most of all, the ability to somehow to learn how to slow down and get out of the racing and the fast pace, which is it's counterproductive to awareness. If you can, become aware of your surroundings and the beauty that's out there, and not having to jump from one schedule to another schedule to running, to be able to get a slower pace of life, which really a lot of people, a lot of parts of the world live at a slower pace. But us here in America, we have got tied up with such running around and fast pace, fast living, a fast track. And the faster it is, it seems like the better it is. It kind of provides an escape. And when you try to peel away the onion and take away some of the things, you're able to observe and, as they say, smell the roses and be able to slow down. And then with that, then awareness of other people's needs and just not myself. And get really a view of the big picture. And just not that I'm not the center of the universe, but there's something else besides myself out there.
Oh, thank you so much. That's Brother John from the book Brother John, but the real person in front of us who has much, much more than the book can offer. But the book is a stepping off point for many people who are unfamiliar with contemplation in today's world and are seeking that form of peace that Brother John is talking about, and that it is possible for us to find. I'm speaking of someone who is in an active area, I guess, downtown Charleston with an open doors of the bookstore, and to take that time to contemplate, whether it's 15 minutes or an hour of adoration. Just that's what's going to help bring, what I'm hearing you say, bring peace to a person who then can bring that peace to others just by being. All right, thank you so much. Now you have someone coming to get your book signed. Thank you, Brother John.